Sure. Man, every day is a good day. We just glad to be here another one because you know what the alternative is.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. Good morning. Good morning, Colonel.
Yes, good morning, Leah. And
I guess
Sim
we're
will be
waiting
back
for
up on
Jim
there
to,
in a minute.
yes, waiting for Jim to return.
Yep, but might as well do the disclaimers right
Yes.
away. Yes, and the opinions expressed in this radio show and we go on YouTube are those of the host and of our guests, and not of the radio show. So we need to put that disclaimer out there right away, and so we can go ahead and start. And I guess
here comes Mr. James now, and we're on the air, Mr. James Overton.
Okay, all ready?
We're ready.
All right, good morning, everyone. And every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And welcome to the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Road presents Portsmouth Coffee Talk. And today we're going to honor, or this is going to be a Veterans Day show. Veterans Day, of course, is on the 11th, which is Thursday. And it's one of those holidays they don't celebrate on Mondays. They celebrate it on the actual day that it was sanctioned years ago. The 11th month, the 11th day, Veterans Day. But anyway, we are here today and we have, and good morning, host.
Good morning, James. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, Colonel, you're playing a dual role this morning as one of the hosts and our special guest.
Yes, yes.
So, and it's appropriate to on this, as we celebrate Veterans Day, to have one of our hosts who is a 36-year veteran or service, or 36 years of service to our country, and is a resident veteran. So first, before we get started, we want to we have a history of honoring certain people before we get on with our guests. And Leah, will you please introduce our honoree this morning?
It is my honor, and I do apologize to those of you who are looking, and my backdrop is not coming in appropriately, so maybe it will fall in place before we end our session this morning. But it is indeed my honor to highlight our special guest this morning, and is none other than Colonel Retired Thomas H. Chapman, Jr. Thomas Chapman, Jr. completed a distinguished career of 36 years in the United States Army. He's a native of Chesapeake, Virginia. He's a prior service soldier who first served as a dental assistant in the United States Army after graduating from Western Branch High School, Chesapeake, in 1974. He was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Army Nurse Corps Reserve in 1982 after graduating from Norfolk State University with an associate's degree in nursing. Colonel Chapman entered active duty after obtaining his Bachelor of Nursing degree from Hampton University in 1984. Later educational attainment includes a Master of Arts, Health Services Management, Webster University, a Master of Nursing from Georgia State University as a clinical nurse specialist, adult health. He holds professional certificates in medical surgical nursing, clinical nurses specialist, medical surgical nursing, and a certified critical registered nurse. Colonel Chapman is a graduate of the AMEDD Officers Basic and Advanced Courses, the Combined Arms and Services Staff School, Command and General Staff College, AMEDD Executive Skills Course, Medical Strategic Leadership Course, Interagency Institute, Federal Health Executives Course, and Defense Strategy Course from the United States Army War College. Colonel Chapman has had numerous key positions while accomplishing several firsts during his career within the Army Medical Department. He was the 7th African-American male to be promoted to colonel in the history of the Army Nurse Corps. Positions of responsibility include Chief Nurse Executive, Cadet Command, 1st African American Male, and Deputy Commander for Nursing, Wynn Army Community Hospital, 1st African American Male Nurse, 1st Nurse Commander, Durham, United States Army Health System, Deputy Commander for Allied Services at the same location, Chief Nurse, 344th Combat Support Hospital, AC/RC, where he deployed to Iraq, 1st AC Chief Nurse. Other past assignments include Chief Operations and S2 Fort Knox Chief, Plans, Mobilization, Training, and Security. Fort Knox, Clinical Head Nurse, Oncology Services, Brooke Army Medical Center, Fort Sam Houston Executive Officer, 5th AMEDD Recruiting Battalion, 1st African American Male Nurse, Chief Education Services Division, Heidelberg, Germany, Utilization Management Staff Officer, Heidelberg, Germany, Assistant Chief Nurse, 212th MA MASH, like the MASH team, serving in Bosnia and Macedonia, and Chief Primary Care, Heidelberg, GE. Colonel Chapman served as nurse counselor in Nashville, Tennessee, and also as a member of the Worldwide Burn Flight Team as an intensive care critical care nurse, Institute of Surgical Research Burn Unit, and Fort Sam Houston, plus as an intensive care critical care nurse, Fort Lee, Virginia. Colonel Chapman's awards and decorations include the Legion of Merit, Bronze Star, Meritorious Services Medal, 7, Army Commendation Medal, 5, Army Achievement Medal, 7, Joint Meritorious Unit Award, Army Meritorious Unit Citation Ribbon, Army Superior Unit Ribbon, Ribbon 8, Navy and Marine Corps Meritorious Unit Commendation Ribbon, Outstanding Volunteer Service Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Ribbon, Iraq Campaign Medal, and been awarded the Aircraft Crew Member Recruiting Badge and the Order of Military Merit Medal. Colonel Chapman is married to Antoinette J. Chapman, OBGYN nurse practitioner, and has 3 children, Dr. Sherry Duport, pharmacist, Suffolk, Virginia, Captain Tiffany Adams, AN, Uniformed Services University, Bethesda, Maryland, and Thomas H. Chapman III, the only one who did not go into the medical field. He's a computer science graduate, Defense Intelligence Agency, Washington, D.C., and he has 3 grandchildren, Marcus, Junior, Sydney, and Dante. So this morning we highlight our very own Colonel Thomas H. Chapman. And I guess with all of these accommodations and all, I guess your suit must be way down when you put all those ribbons on, huh? My goodness.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Colonel Chapman.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
It's indeed our honor to honor you on this day as we celebrate Veterans Day during this month of November of 2021.
Well, thank you, Leah. Thank you. Thank you.
Quite a story behind this honoring the colonel. We had already decided to honor the colonel. And then when I called him looking for who we would have on as our guest, we threw around a few words and he said, I can do that. And I said, okay, that's fine. And because I'd already gotten the info from Tony. And,
Lord, yeah.
Not to let you know,
Mm-hmm.
and, so we could surprise you with it. And then once you decide you were coming on, you sent the same information, which is quite funny. But it's good. It turned out to be sort of like a dual thing. You're honored, and you are our special guest. And I want to tell everyone who was listening to what Leah just read. I hope you pay attention. Be a test on Friday about all accomplishments. So I hope you were paying attention.
Exactly.
But, it's amazing how you fit all that into 36 years. That seems like a lot more than that, but we appreciate your accomplishments. Colonel, I want to start off with, we talked about, you have talked about before, the family and the military, and how it's family based, a lot of things, and maybe you were encouraged by members of your family all the way to your grandparents. When I was promoting, I put pictures up of grandparents on your mother's side who,
Yeah.
Lawrence, who was in the Navy,
Mhm.
and then your father, who was in the Navy, your
Mhm.
grandfather, who was in the Navy, I believe,
Yeah.
and serving in that military service. So how was that influence? Was a great influence to you as far as going in the military, or was it?
Yeah, it's always we've had a family tradition. Like my father, grandfather, and going back, my actually my wife Tony, I actually recruited her into the reserves, and she's actually served also. And my daughter was a pharmacist, went through RTC and served her time. And Tiffany now, who was promotable captain, and she'll be pinning on major sometime next year. And she's getting her doctorate in psychiatric nursing. And then but it goes back to once you grow up in a military family as a dependent, you sort of get this kinship of those who and family members, those who are going through the same struggles and the same mindset. And so you're born with you're indoctrinated with a sense of country, duty, honor, and country, and doing something that for others more than for yourself. And so it's something that just it is just instilled in your blood that you want to try to do something for the country.
And Colonel, and you couple that with the people that served in the military in your family, and your mother, who worked at the Naval Hospital. She wasn't in the military, but she worked at the Naval Hospital as a nurse for years. And you couple that with your decision to go into the nursing corps.
Yes, yes. And she was, and that's one of the reasons I decided to be a nurse. And as when I got around to going through nursing school, and Norfolk State was the perfect vehicle. And this is after I'd done my time as an enlisted member. And then I decided that, I want something more. And then so nursing was just a part that there was an avenue of a profession that had stayed me very well throughout my entire professional career after I had grown up. And so it was one of the wise decisions that I had made.
Yeah, I think it's important to note as well that going into the nursing corps, you made some history as far as being an African American male in that field. It wasn't a lot before you, but you paved the way for a lot after you. So,
yeah. Well, it's a good point that when I first went into nursing school, it wasn't fashionable to be a Black male in nursing school back in the day. And I'll call back in the day because now we're talking, 4 decades ago. And so when I went to nursing school, there was only, in Norfolk State, there was only 2 of us, a guy named Brad Shade, who was ex-Navy, a white guy, who we were the only 2 males in our class. And when I went to Hampton, I was the only male graduating in my class. And so when I was an anomaly going into the Army Nurse Corps, even though at the time it was males was 23% of the corps in the military, and it's grown even more now. Being a Black male, there wasn't a lot of us out there. Basically, as we progressed throughout our career, we kept up with each other and try to give each other, encouragement, because one, we stuck out like a thumb. And so we had to, I've always had this thing, and it's true today, even today, is that you listed out all the schools and all the programs and colleges and stuff I had to do. I always say you have to, as a minority, you have to have twice as much to be equal to sit at the same table. I have to have 2 chips to sit at the table when they have to have 1 chip to sit at the table.
Leah, one more question before you. If you go back in history, Colonel, you always had during the war times and things, you always, and during the movies and in reality as well, you always saw these guys that were in the field that were called medics. Some of them were doctors and a lot of them weren't. Now, was that like the early male nurses, but they didn't use that term then because it wasn't a term that was associated with maleness. I mean, with, you know, the alpha male as far as being called a nurse, but the same, it was sort of the same thing as far as what they did and their value to the Corps.
Yeah, you know what, and you know when you talk about the medics and the medics in the Army, and they're corpsmen in the Navy and whatever, but in there, and those are the real soldiers that are out there, especially at the point of attack. They are there to save you. In the Army, they have this the equivalent, or actually they're expanded roles of what I call super EMTs, and they're out there doing things, yeoman's work. And living hard just without there and being shot at, and they're unsung heroes. And they have saved more of our young sons and daughters than our country will ever know. And you know, after we decided to do this show, and I think about all the medics that I've known throughout my military career, and I have to give my hats out to them because they're true histories that it needs to be written about, but we'll never know what they've done.
Hopefully it comes out because a lot of them sacrificed themselves to just being out there to save, you know, others and while in harm's way. So
yes,
you know, hopefully something will come out and sort of be dedicated to sharing the information about their significance in all the wars.
Yes.
What is this about this 212th MASH? You know, that caught my attention because of the show that was on TV not long ago, you know, about MASH. So share with us, what is this 212th MASH unit?
Well, the 212th MASH was the only deployable field hospital in Europe. And so they were, if there was if there was anything that happened, when I was there, Bosnia had kicked off, and I was assigned to the 212 MASH, even though I was assigned to them, but I worked down at Heidelberg at the hospital. And then so when we got the call and the bubble went up and President Clinton said we had to go into Bosnia, we saddled up and did split operations, and I took a unit down to across the river. So we were the first medical unit into Bosnia. And so,
wow.
yeah.
So was it, were things as gruesome as it was on the show? You know, did you have to use things that were outside of the ordinary in order to help people to survive and do well?
Yeah, it was a tough duty because I had never, to tell you the truth, at that time I had never deployed there, and that was my first real deployment, and it was hard living. I remember going there. You know, the first 45 days you didn't get a shower, so we were humming, and
I can imagine.
Lord have mercy. And it was that was the coldest I've ever been is in Bosnia. I remember sleeping in our warm tent where I would rather than going to the toilet outside, I take a urinal and you relieve yourself in our warm tent, and it'd be frozen over in the morning.
Oh wow.
In our warm tent, and we had 2 heaters in our tent trying to keep it, and it was so cold it would freeze over your urine. So you're cold, and
yes,
I've
you
never
are
been
cold.
so cold. Yes, and you just, yeah, Lord have mercy.
Well, listen, do you see that there are more young African American men who are now going into the nursing field in the military, but not only in the military, but in the nursing field in general?
Yes, more so, and we need more. And but we also have a problem within our in the military, because we aren't putting enough African Americans in the officership side. So if we don't do that now, then we won't see the Colin Powells and the General Rochelle who went to Norfolk State and others grow up in Lieutenant General Scott Dingle, who is an ROTC grad from Morgan State. We won't see them 30 years from now if we don't recruit and retain them now. We had some real setbacks during the last 4 years where they changed a lot of the processes and the recruiting and how we did recruiting and retention. Even at our Uniformed Services University, where my daughter's at now, there's a lack of diversity up there. And I tried, even in this role now, I try to speak out that we need to do more.
You know, Colonel, and you talked about, and Leah said about African Americans taking advantage of going into the nursing corps. When I was in the hospital, I met this male nurse, and he was actually from Africa, from the continent of Africa. But his wife was, and what brought him over, his wife was in the military and was a nurse. And when he came over with her, he went into the nursing field, even though he didn't serve in the military. But the opportunity for him to come over, said it was an opportunity for a lot of people from where he was from to come over and get into the nursing field because of the job availability. So I hope this show gets out to people. You see all these help wanted, but it's going to always be a need for nurses in general, and the male nurses, especially of the African American persuasion.
Well, yes, and the thing is, I've always said that if you get a degree in nursing, you will never want for another job. Because of our aging population, for one, and expanding population, and you can see with the COVID, the real need is for skilled nursing, and especially in the critical care side, that has been highlighted during our COVID years. So if you can get through nursing school and you want to pursue a challenging career, consider nursing, and you will not go wrong. You will not go wrong. And I remember when I first decided to go to Norfolk State, I had also got accepted into the apprenticeship program over at the shipyard, where my dad was over there at Shoot Ship, and he was big time. And I went in there and told them, and says, you know what, I'm going to have to turn this apprenticeship down, because I'm going to continue my career as a nurse. And I came home, and my dad never, he just looked at me, shook his head, and says, you do what you got to do, and continue what you want. But his friends knew that I'd had it made, because because of his I could have rode his coattails in the shipyard and be a made man after going through. But you have to follow your own dreams, and I'm glad I think mine.
I'm sorry. I think this is important too, because I know the story, and you might have told it on this show before. But you went in as enlisted and did the time required as an enlisted soldier, and you came out and like you mentioned, went to Norfolk State as well as Hampton nursing program there, and school in Georgia State.
Yeah, Georgia State.
Yeah, and so explain why you took that route. Are you already in there, and could you have continued while you were in there, or was best to come out and have those degrees behind you when you and then go back in? And did that serve you better doing it that way? Just for people to know that are thinking about enlisting now, what's the best way to go into the armed service?
Well, you know what, and I went in enlisted, and I could have stayed. And for a young person now, going in, you can come in enlisted, and they have all these programs out there that you can go to school for free. You can use tuition assistance, which pays 100% of your tuition. The only thing you have to do is buy your books, and you can get your degree. And then you can, if you get your degree, you can compete depending on your degree. There's a program called the AECP program, Army Enlisted Commissioning Program, that they will take you do the first 2 years, and what they'll do is send you to a nursing school that you get accepted to. You get all your pay and benefits, whatever your rank is. They pay all your books and tuition. And when you come out with your degree in BSN from your baccalaureate from nursing school, you get your lieutenant. But that program wasn't there back in the day when I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
But those programs and more are available to these young people now. That's why more so should they be seeking out those opportunities if you want to do something different rather than staying out here working at Walmart or either walking the streets.
Now,
Yeah. And
okay, go ahead, James. Go ahead.
No, Leah, go ahead. I was finished with
Okay,
that particular.
once they go through the program and they come out, is there a certain number of years that they have to give the military after the military has paid for their education and all of that? Is there a certain amount of time that they'll have to serve once they come out?
So yes, depending on how you come into the service. So say if I went through ROTC, I went to Norfolk State or Hampton or whatever, and I did 4 years, then I have a 4-year obligation to serve on active duty. And then I have another 4 years to either do an inactive reserves or go into the reserves on the back end if I decided to get out after 4 years. So everybody comes in regardless with an 8-year obligation.
Okay.
That combination of how much active duty and how much reserve time depends on how you come in. Yes,
Okay.
I could come in and say do a 3-year Army as an enlisted guy, come in, do 3 years and get out, and do other 5 years sitting on IRR, which is basically I sit on the computer.
So your suggestion then for young people who may be kind of teetering on what they want to do once they graduate from high school, as far as going into the military and having that opportunity to get a free education without a lot of debt service once they complete their service. What do you suggest that they do? Do you suggest that students go into the ROTC program in high school if they're not going to college, and how do they prepare themselves to go into the military for those who are not going to college but may have gone to ROTC in high school?
Well, the ROTC in high school is not a preparatory program for the military. We use in the Army, in ROTC in high school is a program to, and statistics bears this out, is it prepares, it's like having another mother and father, and gives you this discipline because they have a higher propensity to graduate if you take high school ROTC for some. And so it gives them some discipline and sense of family and whatever. So to answer your other question is, if you don't have the resources to go to college or you're not college bound, try a stint in the military. One, it'll give you some chance to get your life together, make some money. If you want to go to school, you know, they have the tuition assistance, so you can do that. And it'll also help you later on if you decide to go to a trade school later on, and you'll have veteran status when you get out, which gives you a leg up when you apply for apprenticeship or a civil service job or a state job once you get out as being a veteran. And you'll learn and be able to assimilate in society more so than you would if you just stay out here and get a job at Walmart or whatever you're going to do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and by you saying what you said about the high school ROTC, being a part of that doesn't obligate you to going into the to the military service. So don't want to scare people away from doing that, but it is an advantage of being in there, especially for people that might need that discipline, to help them, to guide them in the right direction. And West Point, I remember we had a guest on before, and you were talking, her son was in West Point, and I know you had a name for the West Point grads. We won't go into that, but the West Point is also an opportunity. Not everybody can take that route, but that is a place where you go where you are obligated to at least 4 years after that. Once you graduate, we've seen football players go there for football and have to do that 4 years before they can go into the NFL. We've seen that with and the only person I think I can remember that got away from that was the Admiral when he was in the Navy, and he was obligated, but I guess being 7 foot, he wasn't going to be on a submarine,
Right.
or on a ship. That would be kind of difficult for a 7 foot. But he got an exemption after about 1 year, I believe.
Yes.
But it is an obligation basically for most people once they go to West Point, if they are privileged enough to go to West Point.
Yeah, at West Point, in all the military, actually there's the Air Force has the Air Force Academy, we have the Naval Academy, and have West Point. And actually the Coast Guard has their university also, where they try to train their officers too. But that is the cleanest way. If you get a degree from West Point, you'll be a made man or made woman after your time, because it is a stepping stone, say for a West Point graduate. I remember our previous Surgeon General in the Army, she went to West Point, had a degree in engineering, and soon as she finished West Point, she went to the military's medical school, USU's University Services University, and got her medical degree. And later on got into dermatology, and grew up to be, later on, fast forward, she got her 3rd star and was the Surgeon General of the Army.
Okay, Colonel, we're going to have to sign off on the radio, but we're going to continue because we know we have some other things, and you have some other things to talk about as far as a little bit about the history of Veterans Day and a little bit of military or veterans and politics and how that goes. I know that's the.
Yes.
I'd like to say shout out to John Gantz and thank him for his service, and all the other people that might be watching that are veterans. We want to thank you for your service and your sacrifice, which another veteran told us a few shows back that that's a good way to acknowledge our military as well. So we're gonna thank you for watching on WGPL 1350 AM on your radio dial, and be sure to join us next Monday for another exciting show. So we'll continue on. I don't know. Let's see, Leah, did you?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I know that with the change in leadership in the military, as the head of military, I can't think of his name now, and I do apologize. I had it written down. You can help me. Colonel?
Austin.
Yes.
General
Austin, yes. Do you see that there are going to be possibilities? I know that you made a lot of firsts in many arenas, and the 7th African American male to be promoted to colonel in that field. How many others after you have they made colonels, and do you see the possibilities of many more becoming colonel now? And how long did it take for you to become the 7th?
Yeah, it was 115 years before it's about 115 years before I was the 7th.
Wow.
And so that's a long gap in between. And so the people before you and after you, and sort of kept up with the people after me. And there's more after me because of the strides that we have made. I think that some of the changes especially in the last 4 years they made, is they changed the evaluation system, which I think to me is a discriminatory way of doing evaluations, and the assignment process now, what they call AIMS, that's a discriminatory program where you, even though you pick where you want to go, the new unit has to accept you.
Mm.
So if you're not in the system with the good old boys, then you don't get the assignment. So I think that's going to, later on, 10 years down the road, it's going to see the effect, because you're not going to get the commands, the battalion commands, the brigade commands that you'll need to make general. Now, General Austin, or Secretary of Defense Austin, has got a team out there that is had made some on paper some requests, and they want to put a vision forward, but it's not enough.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not going to be fast enough. We have to roll back a lot of the things that happened during this last administration that has set us back as a people in our opportunities, that set us back decades.
And the sad thing about that is that he has 4 years. And
Yes.
if the right thing is not done in 4 years, then that whole process would change again and would go in another direction.
Yes, yes, yes.
Mm.
But that 4-year gap and set us back decades.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You just can't correct, you can't turn the battleship around that fast enough. And so it's the same thing what's happening in our country. You know, 4 years of Mr. Trump set our country back, and you see the rise of Trumpism and a threat to our democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be with us. If the Lord takes him tomorrow, Trumpism will be here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an infection.
Yes.
I'd like to do a shout out to General Alonzo Short, who is a Portsmouth resident and still living here in the city of Portsmouth, who was a general in the Army. And I'd like to give a little shout out to some Acadia Heights guys that we still meet. And these guys were Vietnam vets. And I watched them in the neighborhood as they went off to war. Reginald Moss, Bill Parker, and Leonard White, and Joe Parker. I just had to give them a shout out. We'll be getting together Wednesday. So I wanted to give them a shout out and for their service, and especially Reggie Moss, who served right in the jungle of Vietnam. So, but I'll go back to what you just said about the Trumpism and everything. When he came in and did the things he did, how did that affect, in your opinion, the military, the process of the military? I think it's certain things that are protocol that he couldn't, undo. But, he even wanted to try to use the military to his advantage in some cases, which, which he might have gotten away with. I mean, you're hearing these generals talk now about, how they sitting in rooms and had to go sit through this craziness from a guy that had no military experience and wouldn't listen to them.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We're taught to be apolitical. And that means there's no left, no right, or whatever. And Mr. Trump actually tried to use the military to overthrow our government. Mm-hmm. And the problem with that is that even the military, most officers stood up and disagreed with him and tried to do as much. But the political hacks that he puts, civilian leadership he put in charge, changed a lot of things that made it hard for what I previously discussed in our recruiting and our retention of African Americans, because they were anti minorities, anti women, anti just about everything, and tried to use the military to try to stay in power. You were talking about the folks that had, my brothers and sisters that served in Vietnam. I have to give my hats out to them, And I hopefully those are also, when we're talking about Veterans Day, which started out in we haven't discussed yet, started out as a celebration of veterans after the armistice in 19, I believe 18, after World War I and 1945 and World War II. That's when we started honoring our veterans.
Veterans, yes.
I don't think we get enough help or give enough props to helping our veterans. One of the things here is that we don't help our veterans enough as far as getting them, they need to get their disabilities out there, and they need to apply to get what is theirs, because that same group, Slim, that you just talked about, they've got wounds from being in the jungle and doing all that what I call the old school killing and all of what they saw and stuff like that. They've got those invisible wounds, and hopefully they're getting the care that they need from the Veterans Administration that a lot of veterans aren't getting or don't know how to go get. And so they need to go to their DAVs and the American Legions and see about where they can get their help.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's unfortunate in some situations. What, the Vietnam War is what, 50 years old?
Yes, yes.
And some of those veterans are still fighting for some of the some of the things that are due to them. But Godspeed to them. They get a lot of it. And talk about all the wars. And when you talk about the Black soldier in all the wars going all the way back to World War II, don't hear a lot. I don't know. Maybe you can tell us how. I guess it was a lot of them in World War I as well. But we hear a lot about the World War II Black soldiers that fought, well and hard and came back to Jim Crowism.
Yeah.
About the Vietnam veterans that came back in the 70s, the late 70s, to a world of protest where they were, ostracized because just doing their jobs. When that energy should have gone to the guys that sent them there. So talk about especially those guys that came back, because we need to really honor them. You got the airmen, those guys that came back and had to deal with, these things, had to deal with racism and not being accepted, and were war heroes.
Right. Well, you know what? Racism in America is alive and well, and it's even more so now. Trumpism allowed it to blossom and come out from the closet. And we just buried a great American, Colin Powell. And when he came back from Vietnam, he experienced racism loud and clear. And so he made it his point to where he had to do twice as much, but he progressed through the system. And when he retired, he went out to these in his book, in his life, he went out to corporate America and says, we need to do better in corporate America to hire more women and minorities out here to combat some of the racism that we have out here. And so it still lives today. Racism lives today. And the governorship in the state of Virginia, and all the House seats that they lost, was basically a dog whistle. I didn't say a dog whistle. It was racism from the CRT stuff that was out there. And that was just another racist call that from a program that doesn't exist. Even Tucker Carlson, who is my opinion, who is a racist as himself, admitted he doesn't even know what
he doesn't know what he didn't know what critical race theory is.
Yeah, but he was one of them trumping it up there. And you're going to see it in 2022, where the Republican Party is going to go out there and talk about CRT, and they have no clue. And so we as a people, enlightened people that are educated people, need to stand back and say, and call them out on this. because our democracy, once they take the House or the Senate, take back the Senate, game is over. You might as well say we go back to a dictatorship, and Trump will be back. He'll walk in.
As I think about it, I just want to bring these names up, and Leah, and we would like to honor the men in your family who have served honorably.
Yes.
I believe all of them served in the Air Force, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And we just buried your brother, Freddie, who served in the Air Force as well. So we want to give shout outs to all of them. He's Freddie Jr. So
Freddie Jr.
So Freddie Jr., there was a Freddie Sr., and that was your father who served as well. And then
my brother. Okay, my father served in the Army Air Force at that time. It was called the Army Air Force. And my brother Johnny did over 30 years. Reverend Johnny Drake did over 30 years in the Air Force. And of course, my brother Freddie did 30 years in the Air Force. My niece Kimya Scott Johnson kind of broke that chain because she went into the Army. So she did her time in the Army, as well as a host of cousins and other relatives we have a long history of individuals who've served as well in the military. And the majority of them did serve in the Army, except for my brother, my father, and my two brothers and my father, who both served in the Air Force. Now, I wanted to ask a question too. Do you remember as children on Veterans Day, they would give us poppy, the little poppy flower? Did you all ever receive the poppy flower, the little red flower they would give to you on Veterans Day? The poppy was a sign of the sacrifice that the men had paid in service. Y'all don't remember?
No, because Poppy had another meaning.
It did. But when they were giving out the little poppy, it was like when you would go to the store and you see the veterans in front of the stores, and they would give you the little poppy flower. It was a sign of the sacrifice.
I remember now. They would be, attached to something like that. I remember.
Yeah.
Now that you bring that up, it was a tradition.
I think that was a metaphor for the on the missing man's table of the red rose of the sacrifice, the red meaning the sacrifice of those who aren't here anymore and those who have served. And so that was a come off of that.
Let me give two more shout outs to my father, James Overton.
I was getting ready to say, yes.
Served in the Navy as a chief. And my birth father, who was in the Army, and he was one of the, from what I understand, they did a video on him as being one of the Tuskegee airmen. He wasn't a flyer, he was there, as, I believe, as a mechanic or something. So shout out to both of them at serving, our country well.
You know what, and while you're talking about your father, and we're talking about getting benefits, one of the benefits is home loans and the VA educational benefits. And then, so am I correct that your dad used his VA benefits for educational loan to go through school?
Yeah, to go to law school after he had a career in administration in the school system. So he used that and for the home too, to buy a home as well.
Yes,
so
yes.
It benefited him.
That's why I bring those two things out. But
he as an educator,
yes,
and made that switch, and you went into the military and used that to his advantage.
And let me just say at this time, having gone through what we went through with my brother's death, him having not lived here and trying to locate all of his papers and everything, get your DD-214s and put them in a safe place. If I'm not mistaken, I think the clerk of the court in Portsmouth now will record your DD-214. But get that DD-214 because the times when you need it, you need to have it at hand. So put it in a safe place. Let somebody else know where that DD-214 is, because a lot of services that you can receive upon your death, you need that DD-214 in order to receive those services. So make sure you put those things in a safe place and let someone know where it is.
Yes.
Indeed, that's also important. When I was a realtor and guys wanted to use or ladies wanted to use, the GI bill for that, you had to produce that. And we had most of the people had it or could find it. We had some people that it took a while and sort of, and in some instances they lost out on a bid for a house because they didn't have that on hand until somebody else outbid them and got the house. Anyway, that's important, to have that either recorded or know where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah. And the important thing about what Slim was talking about, and for those who don't know about the home loan piece, is having getting a VA loan through the VA, is you either have almost low money down or no money down to get a house. And that is a big advantage when you come looking for a home. And that is a benefit that because you have served no matter what time, over 100, I think it's 180 days is the minimum that you'll have it. And with a good discharge, then that benefits will stay with you forever.
Even when you pay that loan off, you can still use it again.
You can use it again and again and again. Yeah.
That's so important. Colonel, what does Veteran Day mean to you? I mean, it comes around. I know the service of our veterans is close to your heart all year round, but when Veteran Day comes around, when we get an opportunity to talk about the veterans and what they went through, and also the opportunities. Now, veterans is kind of different from Memorial Day. Memorial is, for the soldiers that sacrificed. And Veterans Day is for both, for living and the ones who have sacrificed. So, what does Veterans Day mean to you as far as making people aware of the sacrifices that the veterans made? And sacrifice doesn't always mean you're no longer here. It just means service.
Well, you know what? To me, it brings back memories for all the thousands of folks that I served with. And I say thousands because, I've known thousands of folks that served with me. And it just brings back memories of when I looked at the honor guards that was carrying Colin Powell's funeral casket.
Yes.
And I worked with a guy named Sergeant First Class John Pauley when I went to Iraq. He had a job as with the tune of the Unknown Soldiers.
Yes.
And we talked about, the things that he had to do doing that job. It reminds me of all the young kids that came and when I was deployed, and you saw so much death, life and death, and it just reminds me of the sacrifice that these kids, and everybody's a kid is a day younger than I. And that sacrifice every day to keep this country running and keep it on the same railroad tracks. And so it's a day of remembrance to me, and it's makes me think about the past. I think about, when I went down to Stewart, we're talking about being the first. When I signed in for Fort Stewart, I was the only, at one time, I was the only African-American 06 or colonel on that base. Of 5,000 something troops there. I'm the only one. And then it made you think that, hey, how far we need to go. Have we come and we need to go?
And and while you're talking about remembering, my cousins served on the USS California in Pearl Harbor when the Japanese struck. Both brothers, Samuel and Leon Bush, were both aboard the USS California. And if I'm not mistaken, after Pearl Harbor, that's when they start not letting brothers serve on the same ship. I may be wrong, but I'll check on that. But they were both aboard the ship when the USS California was bombed. And my uncle in South Carolina was told that both of his sons, Leon and Samuel Bush, both had died during that bombing on Pearl Harbor. Later, they found Leon, and he had survived the bombing. Samuel, they brought back to South Carolina for his funeral, and Mary Macbeth Bethune spoke at his funeral and had the program showing that she was the speaker. But I was blessed to have gone to Hawaii and was able to go to the Punch Bowl where my cousin is buried. That is such an impressive visual piece there when you go to Hawaii to be able to go to the Punch Bowl, as well as to go to the area where that was bombed during World War, during the war, you know. So, and like I said, Colonel, I may be mistaken, but I thought that that was the last time that they allowed brothers to serve on a ship together. I don't know if you know.
They especially doing yes. They try not to because we don't want to wipe out a whole family if something happens. And during World War II, and you know, we had their stories of family that lost like 4 or 5 kids, and you know, it's just you don't do it. Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to do it. A mother and a father or shouldn't lose. They shouldn't lose any of their children,
right?
But to lose multiple in one family, it just double downs on your grief.
It does. It really does.
Yes, it does.
Colonel, I want to ask you this, and kind of hypothetical, but you know, we're dealing with the crime with a lot of our young people, and you have gone around over the years and spoken to high school students and young kids about the military, and not necessarily about joining, but you know, how to conduct yourselves, you know, as you grow into life. If you had the opportunity to sit or to stand in front of these guys, these young men or boys in some cases that are out here shooting up like Westerns, what would you say to them, you know, as far as being a military colonel or just a citizen in general?
I think that not trying to recruit them into the military, even though I think that would be a viable piece, is that have them look at where do they see themselves down the road, and what do they want for themselves down the road. And if it's only 3 to 5 years or 10 years down the road, there's an old adage that there are no retired drug dealers. So if you're looking at the here and now and saying, you know, I'm out here slinging these drugs or doing that, I'm living good. I got the old BMW that don't make anything, and I got a pocket full of money that is, to me, is chump change. 3 years from now, 5 years from now, I'm down in the city jail waiting on a trial in city of Portsmouth. Or I'm down in the city park or in the city, you know, in the funeral place. I mean, in the graveyard, because I met my untimely death. And so, try to get them to look at, where do I see myself, and can I get it? Do you want to get out of this situation or get out of the toilet bowl that you're living in now? And you have to, you have to get out of it. You have to, it's get away from the company that you keep, because there's some people just ain't no good.
Yeah,
and they don't want you to succeed. They're using you to get what they want. Yes. So that's what I would tell them.
Yeah. So talking to young men and women that are considering the military, how would you tell them to prepare and all? Because it's not the same. It's not like you go down there and just sign up and go in there. The military is a little bit more selective. accept into the military, especially during non-war times. But what would you tell them to prepare to make sure that they will be acceptable to the military?
Well, one, you got to have a clean record. So that group of folks that we were just discussing, if they've got something on their record, then they'll have to get a waiver, and waivers aren't going to come for us like it is going to come for others to come into the service. That even stops you from even applying. The other piece is to start studying for your ASVAB. And the ASVAB is that test that you took in high school, that the higher score you get is the more chances of getting a good job or coming into the military. If you want to say be a medic, then you have to get a better score than if you were going to do something else. It's all depending on what you get for that ASVAB test. So, and then the third piece is you got to get physically able to be able to run those 2 miles and do those push-ups, sit-ups, and so on and so forth. And 60% of our population and youth now are not physically fit. They're overweight and have habits that disqualify them from even coming in. And so that narrows the pool of folks that want to come in or that can come in.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you do those 3 things and start working that, because all 3 of those are going to increase. Even if you do come in, they're going to help you in the long run as far as your health and your mind, body, and health. It's going to help you over the long run.
That's certainly good advice. And as we wind down now, very intriguing conversation with you, Colonel. We have conversations with you all the time, but the focus on our veterans today is especially is real special, and we appreciate what you have given to us and to our listeners as well. And I want to thank the people that are watching. Questions are coming up, and the people that are watching are answering them. John Gans and Daphne Warren are answering questions for us about the VA. So we appreciate them doing that. And Colonel, in summary, what else would you say about Veterans Day, or whatever you want to sum it up with?
What's the question that John Gans wants, Johnny?
Well, one thing,
killing me.
Well, he was answering the question. What somebody was asking about recording their those forms.
The DD 214s.
DD 214 forms, and I think he was telling people how to do that, and he gave you a good compliment because he's on the air. But you and I know it would be different if we were in each other's presence. John Gans is one of our cousins as well.
Okay.
Who, a paratrooper, so they go at it sometime. But anyway, we appreciate both of them. But yeah, that's what he was answering, and other people chimed in as well.
So is DeCarlos Mitchell one of your cousins as well?
Who?
DeCarlos Mitchell. He's got good morning, big cuzzo.
Yeah, yep.
Okay, all right.
So we out there. But getting back to talking about benefits, and this might be a motivator for some of the veterans out there. So if you get 100% permanent and total, that means there's no more property taxes in the state of Virginia, and like in my cousin in Texas, no property taxes on your house.
Exactly.
I mean, that is a pay raise by itself. There's extra benefits for your children to go to school through the Dependent Educational Assistance Program, which pays each child that you have $1,050 for 45 months to go to school or either a trade program. So, or your spouse. And so, and it goes on and on. Those benefits are out there. And so that's why we want to go back and emphasize, one, to get those, to put in your paperwork to get your benefits.
That's
because
right.
you can't get nothing until you do the paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to re-emphasize that.
That's so important, where some people sort of miss out on. And Tiffany Chapman said, "Hey, Dad."
Yay, okay.
She's the future major, right?
Yes, she has been selected to be a major, and actually she's getting her doctorate as a psychiatric nurse practitioner, and that is free and clear. She's going to school for free to get that. And so is what's his name on that show, Walker? It's free.
Jimmy Walker.
Jimmy Walker, yeah, it's free.
Yes.
But yes, and Tiffany served, and everybody serves. And my son, you commented earlier, yes, he did not join the military itself, but he is serving through his work through the civil service.
Yes, yes.
So
Yes,
one way we're all connected within, to the government.
Exactly, exactly.
You almost can't say what he does.
Yeah, I know.
But but anyway, we appreciate his service as well, and it would be nice to have at one point have Tiffany on here. We'd like to have someone that's a female in the service and get her perspective of her journey. So hopefully we can work that out if Tiffany wants to. So
yeah, but one of the problems is we've discussed before. There's so many things you have to do for public affairs to get the permissions to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're on active duty, this I could not do this on active duty until till I got free.
Right. And you're right. We have to find someone that's retired and we can get more to put that on her at this point. So we'll just make sure we honor her as active duty serving now.
Yes.
And Michael said wants her to do it. Michael is Tommy's brother.
Yes. So he also served, he's a retired engineer from NASA.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody in the family is kind of connected somewhere, doing something for the government.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that started generations back.
Yes.
Thing. So, Leah, did you have anything else?
No, I just want to thank Colonel Chapman for agreeing to be our guest on this morning and for bringing such valuable information and that others can hopefully use in order to get those things that they need, the benefits that they need, having served in the military. And I do want to say to all of you out there in listening land that if you see a military person, thank them for their sacrifice. Just let them know that we appreciate all that they've done. Not only they're sacrificing themselves, they're sacrificing their families in order to serve our country. So thank them when you see them for the sacrifice that they've given for each and every one of us. And Colonel, thank you again. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your sacrifice. Thank you for getting all your family members involved in serving. But I just want to say thank you as our special guest on today.
Thank you, Leah. And I'll go before you, Slim.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all my brothers and sisters that have served, and all of them that have served before me and are serving now. Our country needed you then, we need you now, and in the future we'll need those young folks that we're talking about that need to go ahead and get around and go see a recruiter and serve somehow, but serve your community. And it's just not in uniform, but you have to be a good citizen of this great country. And one of the other pieces that we talk about service is the right to vote. Right? And those who, if you don't vote, then you do a disservice to our country.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people have fought and died for you to have that right. And so if you don't get the program that you want or get the help you need, don't complain if you didn't vote. And so but thanks for my fellow veterans out there for what you do.
Thank you, sir. And another special shout out to Tony Chapman, Antoinette Chapman, who sent us that information. And thank you to her service. And you know, it's amazing. You can serve your country, serve in your capacity of your job, and raise children at the same time. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot. And then having your children being able to sit back and watch them continue to grow. And Colonel, we'd like to thank you, and we are so lucky that we'll have you back next week. And after that,
In your official capacity, not as
okay.
Yeah.
Like you said, as one of the co-hosts. But we really appreciate you being our special guest today and sharing the information you shared. I know someone out there will benefit from the information that you shared today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
we'd like to thank everyone for watching on Portsmouth Coffee Talk this week. And remember, the Veterans Day celebration will continue all this month, and we'll see which way we're going to go with the Mondays we have left. But make sure, like Leah said, when you see someone, thank them for their sacrifice, because the ones don't have to go to war to be a sacrifice to be in the military. It's just, you know, the protocol for being in the military is something that all of us can't do.
Exactly.
So we appreciate the ones that have done that. Thanks, everybody. Take care. And Portsmouth Coffee Talk is here for our voice,
our community,
and our future.
Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, each of you.
Thank you.
Join us next week.